Good morning, Wright State University, and welcome to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU. Start your day the right way with us. We will be covering current events in the news, local, national, and from Wright State. We will provide a daily dose of inspiration and positivity to lighten your day. And we will have a special feature depending on the day of the week. So grab your tea or your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the Wright Morning Show. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. It is Thursday, June the 17th, 2021. On Discord, we have Laughing Chipmunk this morning. How are you doing, Laughing Chipmunk?
I'm doing fine. I'm having all kinds of weird things for breakfast.
Yeah, you mentioned something about Cheetos, and Cheetos taste good in the morning.
They do. Believe it or not, Cheetos taste really good in the morning.
That's interesting.
I had a handful of Cheetos, then I had a handful of Fritos, then I had a hard-boiled egg. Now I'm going to have a bowl of cottage cheese.
That's an interesting breakfast.
I know. I'm weird.
All right. We're going to get started with your local news. From Dayton Daily News, the Ohio Department of Education will pay Dayton Public Schools at least $13.4 million to settle a decade-old lawsuit that 3 school districts filed over charter schools, enrollment, and funding. Last fall, a Franklin County Common Pleas judge awarded $23.67 million to the Dayton District, $13.78 million to Cleveland schools, and $4.89 million to Toledo schools in the case. The state appealed the ruling, and then the parties agreed to settle for lower amounts in an effort to avoid the expense, inconvenience, and uncertainty of litigation. Dayton schools will get $13.4 million in principal and could receive $1.1 million more in interest if ODE spreads the payments over 3 years, as the settlement document suggests. I'd like to thank former school board member Jeffrey Mims for his leadership and the Dayton Education Association Teachers Union for working really hard to bring about this lawsuit 15 years ago. Dayton School Board President Mohammed Ali Hamdani said Tuesday, sometimes people think we're crazy when we sign up for these lawsuits because legal fights take a long time. This money hopefully will go to great use for the district. DPS Treasurer Hiwat Abraha said the money can go into the general fund without strings attached. Superintendent Elizabeth Lawley said the district already has a plan for how to use the money, but she said final steps are still being mapped out. We'll be announcing that in about 3 weeks, Lawley said. It'll be something that will benefit the students directly, and it will also benefit the community. You can read more about this at DaytonDailyNews.com. From WHIO, 2 taken to a hospital after motorcycle crash in Dayton last night. Dayton police tell us emergency crews transported 2 people to a local hospital after they crashed on North Kiwi Street around 10:35 p.m. on Wednesday. Crews on the scene tell us that the driver was turning onto Kiwi Street from the first street and struck the median. The driver said the driver and their passenger were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, according to police on the scene. WHIO will update the story as they learn more. The Dayton Daily News cites that the city of Dayton is merging the Planning and Economic Development Departments. You can read about that at DaytonDailyNews.com. From the Springfield News Song, Dave Chappelle's outdoor pavilion shows come to an end. Dave Chappelle and Friends may have performed its last show at a Yellow Springs pavilion where it had performed during the pandemic. Wearig Pavilion, a short distance from US 68 outside Yellow Springs, was granted a temporary use permit in May of 2020 by Miami Township that allowed for outdoor performances by Chappelle until entertainment venues open. It has now expired, and Miami Township zoning inspector Richard Zoff said he was unaware of any plans to appeal the permit expiration. The justification for the permit hinged on compensating for pandemic-induced problems. The request is worded such that performances are no longer permitted when traditional venues are available, Zoff said. Chappelle hosted socially distanced comedy shows and music events at Wright Pavilion starting in May 2020. The shows had been called an intimate socially distanced affair, and others referred to them as Chappelle's summer camp. Last year, when the application for the permit was filed, the applicants asked the township to place a condition on the permit. If theaters and other venues are allowed to reopen at full capacity, the application indicated that Chappelle would likely not need to use that space in the same way. You can read more about that at springfieldnewssun.com. From WDTN, a woman is in critical condition after being shot in Dayton Tuesday night. Dayton Police Sergeant Daniel Cash said officers were called to the 500 block of Notre Dame Avenue around 11 p.m. on reports of a fight outside of a home. As police were headed to the scene, they received additional calls about a person shot. Police said they found the woman who was shot lying on the ground. The victim was taken to the hospital and is in critical condition. Police said no.
Wasn't there a story about that yesterday?
Yeah, this is the same story, but it's an update to the woman's condition because I believe yesterday we did not know her condition.
Oh, okay.
Police said no one is in custody at this time, but they do know who they are looking for. The shooting is under investigation. Continuing on from Dayton.com, Enticing Seduction. New burlesque revue is coming to Dayton. The former owner of a popular fitness studio in Dayton is gearing up to host several burlesque shows in the coming months as a part of her rebranded solo project. In 2020, Cassie Gard sold her portion of the popular Femme Fatale Dayton, a fitness studio that specializes in empowering women through burlesque, pole dancing, and aerial hoop classes. Since 2009, Gard had been charged with curating performances for class members. After selling
burlesque.
Burlesque? Okay, thank you.
Burlesque, yeah.
After selling her portion of Femme Fatale to Dayton, to new owners, she decided to retain the production side of the business. And after a bit of rebranding, emerged with the Cirque Fatale Burlesque Revue. French words are kind of hard to pronounce for me. I apologize.
Yeah, I know.
Since moving to Dayton from Austin, Texas, Gard has established herself as a burlesque master in the area. In fact, in 2016, she spoke about the magic that burlesque conjures in the lives of women, no matter their shape, size, or ethnicity, in a TEDx Dayton talk. Through her Cirque Fatale Burlesque Revue, she hopes to keep aspiring women to find the confidence that she may not have possessed before trying their hand at burlesque. You can read more about this at Dayton.com. From WHIO, all 3 Carolyn Park eaglets fly the nest. So some of you may know that there was a bald eagle that made a nest at Carolyn Park. So the Carolyn Park Eagle's nest was getting a little crowded, so the babies decided to take their first flights. Every year, we wait for this time when the baby eagles get ready to spread their wings and take the first step over the nest. I call it a step into freedom, eagle expert Jim Weller said. The first of the juveniles fledged on Sunday. The next took the leap the following day, and the final bird flew for the first time yesterday. Now that we've had all 3 fly the nest, they've got into that first flight under their wing, and that's a big thing, Weller said. He explained aviator, navigator, and pilot will spend the next few months, those are cute names, by the way, improving their flying abilities, learning how to find food, and gaining independence. They will fly off on their own for good in August or September as parents Orv and Willa, these names, other offspring have done in years past. In 2020, Prop and Rudder's entry into the world provided some pandemic entertainment. The year before, birdwatchers enjoyed Arrow and Prairie's journey. From Dayton Local, 12 things you didn't know about Dayton German Fest picnic. Dayton German Fest picnic invites you to get your German word on. I can't pronounce that word, and I'm not going to even try and pronounce that because that is very difficult. The German Picnic Fest is August 13th to 15th, 2021. So, Laffy Chimmuck, if you want to go to that, you could come up if you want, and we'll go to German Fest.
Yeah, we'll just wait and see what happens.
Though an imperfect translation, the invitation is to come, be cheerful, friendly, and comfortable. The fact that this event is celebrating its 38th year is evidence that we know how to and enjoy getting your gemuklik on, however you say that word. Gemuklikkeit. I don't know. It's going to take several tries. Admission is free based on the Liederkranz-Turner Clubhouse in beautiful historic St. Anne's Hill and adjoining 5th Street. The German Fest picnic features traditional German food, music, cultural displays, a kinder corner, souvenirs, crafts, other vendors, and a polka mass on Sunday. There is truly something for everyone. Free parking is available all weekend at Stivers High School and the Soida Center at 5th and Kiwi Streets. 12 things you may not know. Dayton Liederkranz-Turner was granted a charter as a singing club in 1890, making them the oldest German-American club in the area. Number 2, they have potato peeling parties the week before the picnic. Number 3, 1,500 pounds of the world's best potato salad are our reward for their labor. If you want to know how to make it, you have to help. So, by helping, you get, I guess you get the recipe. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, 50 roasters filled with pork and sauerkraut will be roasted to perfection. Changed to 60 roasters and over 700 pounds of sauerkraut, expertly seasoned with spices, bacon fat, and pieces of pork, and made especially for the picnic by the Eintracht Singing Society. Number 5, 600 pounds of specially seasoned bratwurst will be wolfed down. Number 6, 300 pounds of metwurst will be gobbled up. Number 7, 3,000 pork tenderloins will be transformed into delicious pork schnitzel. 3,000 Brötchen, traditional German rolls baked locally by Evans Bakery will be consumed. Number 9, 400 servings of Breinenstich, aka bee sting cake, is not enough and will sell out early. Number 10, 1,200 servings of strudel, 600 each of apple and cherry, will be devoured. Number 11, 200 cream puffs will be scarfed down. And number 12, drive-through service for prepaid carry-out orders are available Friday 6 to 8, Saturday 5 to 8, and Sunday noon to 2. So the picnic schedule is Friday, August 13th from 5 to 11 p.m. Saturday, August 14th, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And Sunday, August 15th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a polka mass at 10 a.m. For more information, you could go to GermanFestDayton.com. So that sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
Dayton Daily News says, want to buy a new bike? Be patient, said Dayton area bike shops. Now, I'm not going to read the article because of the Dayton Daily News paywall, but what I will mention is that there's been and continues to be a bike shortage due to the COVID pandemic. So it's been very difficult to find a new bicycle that you can purchase. And to add on to that, from what I'm hearing, bike shops are paying a lot of money for those who want to bring in their used bicycles and have them get resold. But I believe that as we wind down, as the pandemic cools off, we'll begin to see the supplies needed to make the bicycles. And bicycles will start to become more abundant in the future. So I predict in the spring of 2022, we still may have somewhat of a shortage, but there will be more bicycles for purchase. However, my prediction is, since there's a lot of people searching for bicycles, you'll probably want to go out and get those bicycles as soon as possible, because they'll probably start selling out early. That's my prediction. If you want to read the actual article and talk and see what the area bike shops were saying, you could go to DaytonDailyNews.com. Let's see here. From Fairborn City Herald, Yellow Springs is eyeing a combination levy on the ballot. Yellow Springs Village Schools have taken the first step in putting a combination levy and bond issue on the November ballot in an effort to secure new facilities. The district adopted a resolution Tuesday morning to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission Expedited Local Partnership Program, that is a long name, the plans for which include bringing all students in the district under one roof. The proposed facility, and outlined in the district master facilities plan, would be a single campus to house all K-12 students as well as its career tech programs. The total cost of the project is just over $35.5 million. The state of Ohio would reimburse the village for 26% or $9 million of that amount, with the district responsible for 74% of it, or just over $26 million. The plan also includes an allowance to abate and demolish the current buildings, Mills Lawn Elementary, and the combined McKinney Middle and Yellow Springs High School. The board formally adopted the plan last Thursday. You can read more at FairbornDailyHerald.com. From WDTN, a Dayton mother and daughter are working to advance mental health resources at Dayton Children's. This week marks Kids Family Advocacy Week. It's an opportunity for families across the country to share their health care journeys with lawmakers to show the importance of children's hospitals. In Dayton, the push is to improve children's mental health awareness. 12-year-old Lainey Miller came to Julie and Brent Miller as a foster child when she was 8, and she was adopted by the family when she was 10. It wasn't until after her adoption that we got more answers and diagnosis about past abuse, Julie said. The Millers said that thanks to Dayton Children's Hospital, they've been able to learn a lot about their daughter's mental health, but getting resources hasn't been easy. If I didn't have Dayton Children's, I would still be stuck and confused, and I wouldn't know how to deal with the problems that I've had, Lainey said. Julie and Lainey's journey had led them to advocacy. The mother-daughter duo is now representing Dayton Children's for Speak Now for Kids. You can't always tell that kids need help just by looking at them. Kids like Lainey need a lot more care than just a doctor's visit or wellness check once a year, Julie said. Dayton Children saw a 23% increase in behavioral health inpatient days from July 2020 to May 2021 compared to the same period the year before. Speak Now for Kids highlights the role of children's hospitals and works to persuade Congress to advance more impactful policies like those who have saved the Miller family. I have to say the support from Dayton Children's has helped, because there were moments when we didn't know if we could handle this whole journey with Lainey. Can we give her the help she needs? Is this going to be too hard on our family? Julie explained. All right, we are going to stop there for local news. If you want to read more local news, you could go to sources like WDTN, WHIO, Dayton Daily News, Dayton.com, Springfield News Sun, etc. You could also go to Google News and click Your Local News on the left-hand side to read the latest with regards to your local news. But we are going to go to national and global news now from Cheddar News Need to Know. The New York Times. President Biden and President Putin of Russia ended their first summit in Geneva, expressing respect for one another and a desire for better relations, but little in the way of concrete actions on how to get there. Biden said he told Putin that the U.S. would respond in a cyber way to any future cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, which he described as off-limits. Putin called the discussion productive, but denied being behind any cyber attacks and deflected responsibility for Russia's human rights violations by likening his crackdown on dissent to the arrest of rioters at the Capitol. From Reuters, grid operators in Texas and California are urging residents to conserve electricity in order to avoid outages as the extreme heat peaks over the next couple of days. Death Valley cracked 125 degrees, coming within 9 degrees of the world record. Salt Lake City and Phoenix have already tied their all-time records and are forecast to break them today or tomorrow. From Insider, a common respiratory virus known as RSV that mainly affects children is circulating fast, especially in the South, an uncommon occurrence for the summer months. The most likely reason is that, like the flu, RSV was virtually non-existent last year and is making an early resurgence now that people are moving around and no longer wearing masks. The symptoms are similar to a bad cold or flu, and the CDC recommends that people with those symptoms who test negative for COVID also get an RSV test. From ABC News, Congress has approved a bill to make Juneteenth, June the 19th, a federal holiday commemorating the end of slavery. The House voted 415 to 14 to pass the measure, following its passage in the Senate. President Biden is expected to sign the bill into law, creating the first new federal holiday since Martin Luther King Day in 1983. This Saturday will mark 156 years since the last slaves were freed in Texas. So that's some big and exciting news there. From Cheddar, the Federal Reserve says it now expects to raise interest rates in 2023 rather than in 2024, acknowledging that the economy is recovering more quickly than the central bank predicted just a few months ago, and that rising inflation threatens to slow that recovery down. Federal Chair Jerome Powell said that the economy isn't out of the woods at this point, but that the labor market is looking strong. He also admitted that inflation is rising faster than the Feds expected. The forecast now calls for 3.4% inflation in 2021, which is up from the prior estimate of 2.4%. From The Verge, podcasts are coming to Facebook starting next week. The company has been telling creators it plans to launch its podcast platform on June the 22nd, giving users a new option to listen to their favorite shows. Something unique about Facebook's service is that listeners will eventually be able to cut clips of an episode to share, similar to how Twitch lets users share clips from their streams. From B/R. This is the best time of the year if you're an NBA fan, but the playoffs are a bit of a mess at the moment. Clippers superstar Kawhi Leonard set out last night's win with a knee injury and could be done for the rest of the postseason. That followed the news that Chris Paul of the Suns was out indefinitely after testing positive for COVID, putting Phoenix at a disadvantage heading into the Western Conference Finals. In the East, the Nets have been injured Kyrie Irving and in recovering James Harden, while the Sixers' Joel Embiid has been playing through a meniscus tear. LeBron James has expressed many fans' frustration with the level of injuries, blaming the league for rushing to start the season so soon after last year's bubble. From THR, Disney Plus will shift its strategy and start releasing original series on the platform on Wednesdays rather than Fridays. Original movies like the upcoming Luca from Pixar will still drop on Fridays. The change comes after Marvel's Loki became the streamer's most watched premiere after it debuted on Wednesday. From Bloomberg, the sponsors of the Euro 2020 soccer tournament are getting more, or technically less, than they bargained for. Manchester United's Paul Pogba removed a strategically placed bottle of non-alcoholic Heineken beer from his post-match press conference, copying a move from the sport's biggest star, Cristiano Ronaldo, who swapped 2 bottles of Coke for a bottle of water the day earlier. Shares of Coca-Cola fell 1.6% after that clip went viral, wiping $4 billion off of Coke's market cap. Italian star Manuel Locatelli also moved the Coke bottles from his presser. It's interesting how little things like that can affect the stock market. That's funny. Let's see here. From the New York Times Morning Digest, demand over supply. Here's a simple way to understand the recent rise in inflation. As the pandemic is receding in the U.S., demand for goods and services is rebounding more quickly than the supply of those same goods and services. And when demand outpaces supply, prices rise. The demand part of the story is fairly obvious. More Americans are shopping in stores, eating in restaurants, and planning vacations. They are spending some of the savings that they accumulated during the pandemic, including money from government stimulus checks. As my colleague Neil Irvin says, demand is not just back, but more than back, given the fiscal surge and pent-up savings. Supply, however, is not back. The pandemic disrupted supply chains for many items, including computer chips, paint, lumber, and sneakers. It also disrupted work habits, and not everybody can or wants to return immediately to their old jobs. The taxi and ride-hailing industry is a good example of what happens when rising demand runs up against reduced supply. One rider recently paid $248 for a trip from Midtown Manhattan to Kennedy International Airport in Queens, almost as much as his plane ticket to California. Inflation has come in above expectations, Jerome Powell, the chairman of Federal Reserve, said after a meeting yesterday. During the meeting, Fed officials updated their inflation forecast, predicted the inflation would remain above 3% for much of the year, which is higher than their preferred level of 2%. Fed officials also announced that they expected to begin raising interest rates in 2023, which is sooner than previously planned. The big question is whether the forces causing inflation to rise are fleeting, as Powell believes is quite likely, or whether they will continue for months and create significant problems for the U.S. economy. Today's newsletter lays out those 2 different scenarios. The high inflation scenario. So there are some reasons to believe that the mismatch between demand and supply could last for a while. On the demand side, Americans have money to spend thanks partly to all the stimulus that the government has pumped into the economy. Look at what's happened over the past year to the savings rate, which measures the portion of income to the households put aside each month. So I'm going to kind of explain this graph a little bit. So in about 2000, the graph started off at roughly 5% savings rate in the United States as a percentage of disposable personal income. That rate dropped to about 2% just before 2006, raised back up to 5% in 2008, and even spiked to close to 10%, just a little bit under 10%. And then it gradually went on an incline from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9% in 2012, and then cracked above 10% in the middle of 2012 and 2013. Then it took a sharp dip to 8% later in 2013, and gradually stayed there about 8% until 2020. When the pandemic hit, that amount rose dramatically to about 35%. And then it took a sharp drop to about 15% towards the beginning of 2021, and it fluctuated between 15 and 20%, went back down to 15%, and then spiked again to just under 30% towards the end of 2021. So, with excess saving that they can afford more of anything, Jason Furman, a Harvard economist and former Obama administration official, wrote this week. Although companies are increasing the supply of many products to satisfy rising demand, they may not always be able to keep up. One unknown, as Neil points out, is how many people have decided that they prefer the slower pace of pandemic life and choose not to return to full-time work. A lower labor supply can lead to more competition for workers and to wage increases that could translate into price increases. If inflation remains elevated for months, it could feed on itself. Companies would increase prices to cover the higher cost of raw materials. Workers would ask for wage increases to maintain their buying power. The Federal Reserve might then need to raise interest rates to prevent inflationary spiral, and rapid rate increase has caused recessions in the past. Furman has called the chances of persistent inflation underappreciated. Then there's the low inflation scenario. You could tell a plausible story about why inflation will not last. This is the scenario that most officials at the Fed and in the Biden administration consider to be more likely. One reason to be skeptical about dire inflation warnings is that economists have repeatedly overestimated the risk of inflation in the 21st century. And several features of the modern American economy seem to restrain inflation. Global competition is one, Powell has argued. Another is American workers' relative lack of bargaining power, which means that companies can often wait out temporary price spikes without increasing wages. Fed officials believe that these larger forces will prove more powerful than the short-term disruptions from the economy's post-pandemic reopening. Already, there is some evidence to support the Fed's sanguine view. Some companies have responded to higher prices and to the opportunity to make higher profits by increasing output. To take one example, lumber prices, after rising sharply, are now falling. As the economy is opening back up again, prices are now moving back towards normal levels in leisure, hospitality, airfare, and the like, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, said in a Senate hearing yesterday. The coming end to a federal stimulus will also serve to reduce demand. The spending from the $1.9 trillion bill that President Biden signed in March will mostly expire by early summer. Once that happens, the decline in government spending will act as a drag on economic growth and help hold down inflation. You could read more about this at the New York Times, including the summary of what really matters. So we are going to go ahead and conclude our current event segment there and take a break on the Wright Morning Show. When we come back, we will get into your weather forecast as well as the news and happenings around Wright State's campus. So everybody stick around. You're listening to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. 106.9 FM. Welcome back to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Now in the studio with us is Jamie from the Guardian Media Group. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing quite well.
Awesome. We also have still Laughing Chipmunk on the line with us as well, I believe. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. So we're going to go into your weather forecast now. The current weather at Wright State University, according to tomorrow.io, is clear with a temperature of 67 degrees. The wind is coming from the south at 7 miles per hour. The relative humidity is 47%. The dew point is 46. Visibility is 10. Air quality is good. The 12-hour hyperlocal forecast shows clear skies up until about 7 p.m., and then some clouds are going to roll in. The temperature is going to reach 70 degrees very shortly, and then it's going to approach 75 degrees by 11 a.m., 80 degrees by 1 p.m., and then it's going to top off to 85 degrees at 5 p.m., and then start cooling down for the evening at 7 p.m. Oh, my mouse is not working. Give me 1 second here. Having a little bit of mouse issues. There we go. Your extended weather forecast brought to you by the National Weather Service and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I do want to mention that there is an air quality alert for a couple of counties to the south of us. The air quality alert is in the Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency. Has issued an air quality alert for Butler, Claremont, Hamilton, and Warren counties in Ohio, Boone, Campbell, and Kenton counties in Kentucky, and Dearborn County in Indiana until midnight. The agency expects to see levels of ozone in the unhealthy for sensitive groups range on the air quality index. So if you're sensitive to the air qualities, you may want to spend your day indoors if you're in the southern counties of the Miami Valley. So the weather forecast brought to you by the National Weather Service. We do have a hazardous weather outlook in effect as well. So severe weather will be possible late Friday afternoon into Friday night, with damaging winds being the primary threat. Isolated large hail will also be possible. Thunderstorms will be capable of producing locally heavy rainfall late Friday afternoon and Friday night, leading to the potential for some flooding concerns. Heat indices Friday afternoon will also be in the mid to upper 90s. A few strong to severe storms will also be possible again Saturday afternoon and evening. Damaging wind will be the primary threat on Saturday. Spotter activation may be needed Friday afternoon and evening. So what that means is that weather spotters may be activated and sent out to monitor the weather on Friday because of the severe weather risk. According to the Storm Prediction Center, the Dayton area is under an enhanced risk of severe weather on Friday. What does that mean? Well, enhanced means that numerous severe storms are possible. They are more persistent and widespread, a few of them possibly intense. So enhanced is number 3 out of 5 on the scale of severity index. All right, so your extended weather forecast for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is an error occurred while processing your request. The high temperature is air number 102. No, I'm just kidding. Let's try this again. The National Weather Service sometimes has troubles loading their pages. There we go. Today, sunny, high in the mid-80s. Tonight, mostly clear, low around 60. Friday, a chance of thunderstorms in the morning, with the thunderstorms becoming more numerous and widespread in the afternoon. High around 90. Friday night, the thunderstorms continue. Low around 70. Saturday, chance of thunderstorms in the morning. The showers will continue in the afternoon, but the thunderstorms will taper off. High in the mid-80s. Saturday night, a chance of showers with a low in the mid-60s. Sunday, partly sunny, high in the upper 80s. Sunday night, partly cloudy, and then a chance of showers with a low around 70. Monday, thunderstorms likely with a high in the mid-80s. And then finally, Monday night, showers and thunderstorms likely uh, before midnight, and then the thunderstorms taper off, but the showers continue after midnight with a low around 60. Here are the latest campus announcements. Mega City Toastmasters Club. I'm sorry. Mega City Toastmasters Club in-person open house is June the 21st. So, have you ever wanted to improve your public speaking, leadership, and communication skills? We at Mega City Toastmasters may be able to help with that. Mega City Toastmasters Club is having a socially distanced in-person open house on June the 21st, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Shoup Park, which is 1341 Meadow Ridge Drive in Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45432. Calling all freshmen and sophomores, join us as we hike 26 miles on the Appalachian Trail. From August 11th to 18th, you will hike, camp, cook outdoors, play games, swim in waterfalls, and spend a day giving back to the mountains by learning how to build and maintain hiking trails. These trips are designed for all levels of experience, and no prior backpacking experience is necessary. They are now open to both incoming freshmen and sophomores who missed out on a classic intro to college in 2020. If you want to register for the event, you could go to your Wings account by going to wings.wright.edu, find the announcement, and then there is a click here to register link in that announcement. We have two weightlifting programs in effect. Women on Weights, which meets every Tuesday and Thursday from 12:15 to 1 p.m., and then also a group on Wednesdays, 5:15 to 6 p.m. They meet at the back of the recreation desk, and it is for women who want to feel empowered while weightlifting. The Learn to Lift program is also in effect. It's a 1-week session that meets twice during that week. There is a Monday-Wednesday group, 12:15 to 1 p.m., and then a Tuesday-Thursday group, 5:15 to 6 p.m. If you're new to weightlifting and you want to learn how to lift weights and navigate the gym, this is the program for you. As a professional trainer, will teach you how to weightlift. The campus drinking water warning is still in effect. Wright State University had recently released an update to the contamination issue. I am going to try and pull this up here. All right, the water warning on the Dayton campus remains in effect according to the official email list. Water from the Wright State University public water system should not be consumed. To verify that the water meets all OPA standards, taps in every building have been flushed and samples have been collected. The samples will be analyzed for ethylene glycol, the probable contaminant and the additive used in the HVAC glycol loop system for biological sciences. The test results are Pardon me, there's something stuck in my throat. Okay, I should be okay now. The test results are expected on Monday, June the 21st through Wednesday, June the 23rd for nearly 40 samples. As soon as the results are reviewed, another update will be issued. The water warning was the result of contractors working to upgrade our electrical infrastructure. A grounding rod inadvertently punctured the underground glycol loop in the air conditioning system. This was related to the air conditioning outage experienced by several of the campus buildings on June the 8th. The glycol system was filled in biological sciences where some contamination was observed. But the possible cross-contamination was not observed until June 9th. A review of all other areas of the distribution system indicated all safety system pressures and backflow preventers were operational and functional. Assessments are continuing for additional corrective actions and prevention measures. Thank you for your patience at this time while we work to ensure your health and safety. And if you need bottled water, you could always contact 065 Allen Hall Customer Care Center, and they have some bottled water available for you. For more information, you could contact Customer Care at 937-775-4444 or Environmental Health and Safety at 937-775-2215. Jamie, would you be able to take over with Guardian News for a moment so that I could get a drink and clear out whatever's stuck in my throat?
Yeah, most definitely.
Thank you.
We don't have too many new articles yet here this morning. However, I know we will be getting more into this. Oh, what happened to it? I just saw an article.
Did it disappear on you?
It did disappear on me. Let me reload the page.
Good old technology.
Resource limit is reached. Okay.
Uh-oh. Sounds like there's a lot of people checking out The Guardian right now.
Yes. I mean, I'm not mad about that.
Maybe time to upgrade your web server.
Well, we are actually looking for a web designer. So if you are interested in web design, we are still hiring.
That was one of the smoothest transitions into a promotion I've ever heard.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm not seeing too much. Did we cover the LGBTQA resources on campus article yesterday?
I covered that 2 days ago, but if you want, we could reiterate it because
Yeah.
it is Pride Month and it is very important, especially to the LGBTQA students of Wright State to know what their resources are.
Yeah, so the first article that I see that pops up is one written by loading page, Kaylee Rains. And it is titled LGBTQA Resources on Campus. Orgs hope to re-engage fall semester. So this article talks about some different LGBTQA plus organizations here on campus. And here we go. So to quote the article, several campus organizations exist for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, or LGBTQA plus students and staff that are using this summer to plan events for the fall semester as social distancing guidelines are relaxed. So one of them is the LGBTQ plus Alumni Society. And the LGBTQA plus Alumni Society exists to encourage the continued success of the LGBTQA plus students, allies, faculty, staff, and alumni through events and education. Similar to most campus organizations, the Alumni Society has slowed down because of the pandemic, but looks like they're hoping to get back up and running. The next organization mentioned in this article is Rainbow Alliance, and Rainbow Alliance is a student-led organization that allows students to discuss issues in the LGBTQA plus community and provides a safe space for students within the community. And the third organization and last organization mentioned on this article is Allies Organization for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Christian, and Ally. Allies is an informal group open to Wright State University staff, faculty, and retirees. Ooh, so a special
Nice.
group for staff. The purpose is to provide a safe space for LGBTQA faculty and staff through education, social events, and advocacy. So yeah, if you're looking for organizations to join or looking for support and you're in the LGBTQA plus community or an ally, there are some resources for you.
I think it's pretty cool that Wright State not only has programs for students, but has programs for the staff and faculty as well.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool too because, I think that makes us like really unique to diversity initiatives and whatnot of just focusing on the staff as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, I got an article from the newsroom if you would like me to take over.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hopefully, I could get through this without coughing. Still trying to get whatever's lodged in my throat free. So, the Wright State newsroom wrote about Fort Worth. The 10 Wright State University students are fanned out on a grassy bluff that overlooks the historic battlefield. They are digging for traces of a Native American fort torched by American forces in 1780. The excavation is unfolding at George Rogers Clark Park near the Mad River, just northeast of Wright State. It's all part of the field school in archaeology offered in an anthropology course in the College of Liberal Arts. I'm going to give a pause here. A quick shout out to those of you who are outside watching WWSU through the window. Got some new students here that are checking out Wright State. Thank you. Big shout out to the orientation team for doing all of these tours and things like that. So hopefully they heard that before they left. Continuing the article, this year's class includes 10 undergraduate anthropology students, one of whom serves as a student supervisor. This site is probably the location of the fort, said Lance Green, PhD, Associate Professor of Anthropology. I cannot say my S's today for some reason. The Shawnee built this three-sided palisaded fort to defend against the Americans, and the Americans burned it to the ground. So we're looking for evidence. Pickwa, also known as Pickaway, was a Shawnee village of about 2,000 established in the mid-1700s near where the students are digging. The village and British-style stockade were attacked by a Kentucky militia of 1,100 led by George Rogers Clark on August 8, 1780. The militia reported killing about 40 Shawnee, burning all of the houses to the ground and destroying 800 acres of corn. The heart of the battlefield is a grassy 30-acre meadow. Tiny orange and yellow pennants mark the perimeter of this year's excavation site, which is being probed by digging small holes to look for artifact clusters. The students shovel dirt into plastic buckets and pour the contents into wood frame sifters, which reveal any artifacts and fragments as the soil is handshaken through the screen. If a promising artifact is found in this exploratory process, the digging will expand. Artifacts are bagged and tagged with location numbers before being returned to the lab for analysis. We're out here doing cultural work, and we're contributing to a larger historical narrative, said Ethan Clark of Greenville. Clark said he is interested in a career in cultural resource management, the preservation of cultural resources that include archaeological sites. Green created the field school in archaeology to investigate the archaeology and history of Shawnee settlements in Ohio. The school is in its fourth year after missing last year's session due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It's wonderful to be back here. It's been 2 years since we did the field school, said Green. The shutdown with COVID has been really difficult. So both with being outside and working with students face-to-face has been fantastic. Previous classes looked for evidence of the Shawnee village, evidence of the Battle of 1780, and evidence of white settlers who began arriving in the 1820s. The students have discovered musket balls, gun flints, and everyday artifacts like pieces of cast iron pots, ceramics, glassware, and nails. Green said the field school gives students excavation skills, promotes teamwork, and fosters bonding. If students are interested in becoming an archaeologist, then they have to get this experience to be a professional, he said. Some are specifically interested in becoming archaeologists. Others are curious about archaeology or just want to get some field experience. Julie Roseberry of Greenville said she was initially interested in mortuary science, but decided to pursue anthropology instead. That way I still get to work with death, but I changed the narrative from me and modern people to those who can no longer tell their story, she said. I would rather work with the dead to help the living better understand them. Oh, yeah, it is a kind of awkward way to put it. But that is from the Wright State Newsroom. That's pretty interesting, though, to be able to go out there and excavate and find some historical artifacts, though, of past tribes that unfortunately were burned.
Mm-hmm.
So,
a new article just came out on the Guardian website. If you want to bounce back there for a minute,
yeah, we got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, so I feel like some articles are being published as we speak, and one of them
Mackenzie's listening to us.
Yes, down the hall. So this is also on the Guardian website. It is titled Juneteenth, Events in Dayton, How to Celebrate. With Juneteenth coming up this Saturday, here are some ways to celebrate in and around Dayton, Ohio. And then also I want to quote this article in kind of the history of Juneteenth. So it says, quote, June 19th, 1865 marks the day that the last slaves in Texas were told of their freedom, 2.5 years after Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation to free all slaves. Now, over 170 years later, June 19th is in the process of becoming a federal holiday. The Senate passed the necessary bill Tuesday and is expected to easily pass the House and head to President Joe Biden's desk, according to the Associated Press.
Mind if I interject here for a second?
Yeah,
The
go
House
ahead.
did pass the bill. I believe the Senate also passed the bill, so it is currently on its way to President Biden's desk. Woohoo!
Woo, that would,
Yeah,
hopefully it gets signed before Saturday.
yeah.
Here, and then the article continues. Here are some events happening this weekend to celebrate the freedom of all slaves in America. Juneteenth Festival, taking place at Riverscape Metro Park in downtown Dayton. This festival will have live music, a drill team competition, and available food vendors. And that event is on June 19th from 1 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. A Juneteenth luau, or lua, I hope I pronounced that
I think
right.
it's luau, yeah.
Lua, okay. This Lua taking place at Encore Studios in 14 Bates Street is from 6 to 10 p.m. There will be drink and food vendors and 3-on-3 basketball tournament. It's not a day, but general admissions is free, and you can go to the article on the Guardian website, and there's a link on more of that event if you're interested. Then there is the Levitt Pavilion Juneteenth concert. The Levitt Pavilion in Dayton, Ohio, is hosting a free concert featuring Tank and the Bangers, a 5-piece group that has a rare knack for combining. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Various musical styles: fiery soul, def hip hop, def groove, R&B, subtle jazz. Ooh, subtle jazz.
Interesting.
Okay, into one dazzling, cohesive whole that evokes the scope of New Orleans music while attaining a distinctive feel all its own, end quote. Opening ceremonies are 5 to 7 p.m., and the music will begin at 7 p.m. There's also a link in the article if you're interested in that event. And we have 3 more events here, so that's exciting. And then Sanfaka, Juneteenth 2021 Community Celebration, hosted by the Coalition on African Liberation. A weekend including live performances, a parade, food vendors, and more will start Friday, June 18th. Dayton's young black professionals are hosting a community conversation about reimagining freedom and will start on June 18th at 5 p.m. It will be held at Dayton View Park on North Broadway Street, and Saturday's festivities will begin with a parade of drummers, drill teams, motorcycles, and classic cars. And then from 11 a.m. to dusk, the Dayton View Park will host several events, including live performances, an Afrocentric fashion show, and an elders recognition, and more. Springboro Juneteenth Jubilee. Love that name, by the way.
Yeah.
A family-friendly event, the Jubilee will take place at the Springboro YMCA from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. There will be live music and performances available at North Park Amphitheater, 195 Tamarack Trail from noon till 8 p.m. And other events include Underground Railroad tours and 3-on-3 basketball games starting at 9 a.m. Again, there's a link in the article, so if you're interested in these links, you can go there. And then Juneteenth at the Gammon House. The Gammon House, a local Springfield landmark, is celebrating Juneteenth after canceling last year due to the pandemic. The Gammon House, built in 1850 and located at 620 Pika Place in Springfield, will begin this year's celebration Saturday, June 19th, with a new event, a 5K Run Walk for Freedom, and the 5K begins at 8 a.m. And the annual Father Fest will follow with food vendors and music from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So all those links, events, information can be found on the Wright State Guardian's website under our Juneteenth events in Dayton article.
Very cool. We unfortunately have to stop for our top of the hour ID break, but thank you, Jamie, for bringing up those celebrations. So we are going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back in a couple of minutes, we're going to get into our Daily Reflection segment. You're listening to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so if you have a fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going in. More info at coronavirus.gov. Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Mike Fury of Dangerous Muse, and you're listening to 106.9, Dayton's Right Choice. Turn it up.
This is a Wright State Campus Bulletin. A drinking water warning is still in effect for the Wright State University Dayton campus and Hamilton Hall dorms. This does not affect any other campus housing units. Do not use any water for any purpose from the Wright State water system. Possible contamination occurred on Wednesday, June the 9th at Biological Sciences. If you need bottled water, please go to 065 Allen Hall or contact customer care.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents.
Welcome back to the Right Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. It is time for your daily reflection. Today's daily reflection comes from tinybuddha.com and is written by Liv W. The only way to form meaningful relationships with people who get you. A quote by Jim Morrison to start off the article. A friend is someone who gives you total freedom to be yourself. When I left my full-time at an ad agency and ventured out on my own, I had a clear goal in mind, to connect with like-minded people who align with my highest good. As far as how I was going to do that, I had little clue. My life was full of relationships, built from forced, sometimes toxic circumstances where we found each other out of need of convenience. I'm grateful for each of those people because they were there when I needed them the most. But there was always a part of me that felt unknown or misunderstood. They did not speak my language. After a couple of decades of these experiences, it became natural to think that no one understood who I was and no one ever would. Being an idealist, I always believed in true heart-to-heart connections with other human beings as the most fundamental component of strong relationships, above cultural backgrounds, titles, properties, or romance. Most of the people around me, however, seem to pursue relationships to either avoid being alone or to create financial security without the desire to form a deeper connection with others. Perhaps they don't believe in the type of connection that I know exists and think of it as a fantasy. In the past, I was often criticized as being more naive and impractical. My idealistic nature often shows up in work environments too, unguarded and without an agenda, while I watch others focus only on their own goals. I always cared about coworkers as well as clients, and I've been enthusiastic about creating great designs to help them succeed. Those efforts were often seen as an agenda to get promoted, even perceived as a threat at times by supervisors, fearing that I was after their job. So I finally gave into conformity and kept those idealisms to myself and pretended I had the same drive as everyone else. I wanted to be perceived as professional, to have friends, and to live every day drama-free, so I showed the world just enough of me in order to fit in comfortably. It's no wonder in hindsight I never met anyone who truly got me, because no one really knew about the existence of that part of me. And if I ever mustered enough courage to share those deep thoughts and visions, the slightest pause in our conversation or a split-second blank stare would scare me back into my shell all over again. Interestingly enough, after my release into the ocean, as I like to call it, from the corporate pond, and since taking full advantage of my freedom to work with whomever I choose, I find myself attracting more and more like-minded people. Whenever I marvel at the miraculous synchronicities, I begin to realize more and more why that is. I unknowingly started to come out of my shell and show the world all that I am. So we're going to pause the article here for a moment and turn to Laughing Chipmunk and Jamie. So my question to kind of get us started off is, have you ever felt like you're kind of wandering the world, people don't really get you or understand you, and you feel this pressure to intentionally kind of conceal part of who you are because of social scripts and things like that?
Yes, most definitely. I feel like especially when I was younger, that took more place, and also like grappling with like my identities and just my life situation. I have kind of always felt pressured to conform or to fit a certain box, and then there came a point, especially when I came into college, where I was like, you know what, I am me, I'm unique. My identities add to my personality. My personality is what it is, and yeah. So I felt when I was younger, but yeah, definitely once you get older and find a sense of yourself and find and kind of define more who you are, that becomes less important of fitting in those quote unquote social boxes.
Yeah. What about you, Laughing Chipmunk?
I used to be that way, but not anymore. Um, I don't I don't hold back on anything. Um, I know I'm weird at times. I know I'm like not right.
you, when
And
you
I'm
and
kind of proud of it.
you don't know how many times, I've gotten comments like with you and I when we're, mother and son and out in public and things like that. People are like, "You say that to your mom?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and she laughs.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's heck to explain to people, well, we talk to each other like this because, we love each other, and, it's like terms are unique terms of endearment, you know. Okay, remember that one time you were in school? I think it was Carroll High School. And remember how we used to greet each other by going like that?
Oh, the
And
blowing a raspberry with our tongue.
yeah, we did that a lot. And that one teacher got on your butt for because I was at school for something, and so you and I we went to each other, and your teacher got on your butt for doing that, and he was like scolding you for disrespecting your mother, and I'm like, we do this all the time. It's our
I don't remember that.
Oh, I do. I do.
I
I
do not
forgot who the
remember that.
teacher was. It's like that's kind of like our greeting to each other, you know?
we
I
got a
hate
quirky
having to
we
What?
got a quirky family thing going on, like with the whole blowing raspberries at each other and making dark jokes with each other, things like that. Things that you would not expect a and a child to, what am I trying to say? You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like
Well, you're not a child.
most mothers would be very offended by it. That's what I'm trying to say.
But
You okay?
I'm not. I think it's funny, because you know me, I just have this, demented, whacked sense of humor, and it obviously runs in the family.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
not just you. It's our cousins. It's me. It's our aunts. We all have this really crazy sense of humor, and it's fun. It's really fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And some people, they're just like, huh? Okay, I guess we have to explain. But yeah, it's just, it's fun, actually.
Yeah, I mean, not to This brings up something interesting, and not to divulge from the original topic too much, but now I'm curious because, so Jamie, I wanted to ask you, since Mom and I kind of shared our family quirks, do you have some unique and fun quirks within your family?
Um, I'm not the closest with most of my family members. So no. I like my sister, and I are like really, really close. So our relationship can kind of get, like we have a weird like way of communicating with each other, and I don't know, we kind of have our own language at this point because we are so close. Um, so yeah, I guess within that relationship, yeah, we do have a few wacky ways of communicating.
It's really fun when you have somebody that you could do that with.
Most
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get back to the article here. So whenever I marvel at the miraculous synchronicities, I begin to realize more and more why that is. I knowingly started to come out of my shell and show the world all that I am. I was no longer met with judging eyes, passive-aggressive statements, and indirect criticisms that conditioned me to refrain from expressing myself in ways that I wanted to. Without having to deal with constant judgment and negativity, I naturally opened up and let my walls down. I spent the 3-month grace period I granted myself following the leave, nurturing feelings of self appreciation and comfort and self reflecting. What kind of relationships did I want moving forward? And what kind of professional relationships would I want to build for my long term success? The answer from deep within brought tears to my eyes. Whatever business endeavors awaited, I always wanted to be as happy as I was right then. This morning, on an introductory Zoom call with a client who came to us for marketing and PR services, I had deja vu listening to her echoing my own recent experiences. She's a veteran in her industry, well educated across all subjects, has a rich cultural background, and is already a highly successful entrepreneur. Yet, she expressed discomfort in telling her personal story because she felt she would be seen as weird and unrelatable. And at the same time, wondering how her unique perspective and her desire to better the world could come across to the right clients. I immediately felt my pulse a little stronger, blood flowing, and wasted no time in sharing what I had just gone through. I gave her the following advice in hopes she would be encouraged to share all that she is with the world and build the clientele she truly desires. I got my confirmation immediately when her eyes lit up and her wonderfully mischievous childhood stories began to flow out naturally and comfortably. Your weirdness is your uniqueness. Since I've allowed myself to be more authentic, I've crossed paths with many people who share the same fear of being seen as weird. Many of us carry this heavy weight, the shame we felt perhaps from a young age of being judged, reprimanded, or being made fun of just for being ourselves. We then spent decades trying to fit in, prove we were normal and worthy of love and respect. We diminish all of the amazing qualities that make up exactly who we are as unique individuals. If you ever feel the need to hide your stories, struggles, or emotions to appear normal to the rest of the world, consider this. You're actually depriving the world of getting to know you. What if the world needs your unique personality? What if the world is waiting to hear your personal story? Every single one of your qualities, even though some may consider weird, is a contribution to who you have become and what you have to offer the world. If you have listened this far, you most likely have a desire to be known, to be acknowledged, and you are likely already sharing pieces of yourself with others, at least on the surface level. I encourage you to gently peel off another layer and share a deeper part of yourself, because not doing so will keep you wondering and feeling caged. I'm going to pause the article again for a moment here. I'm going to go backtrack a little bit to this whole idea of being weird and unique. I don't know about you, but personally, I have my discrepancies with the word weird. I like saying unique because weird has this negative connotation in the world. But to get on to the point that I wanted to get on is I wanted to ask Jamie Lafik-Jimok, what are some unique traits or quirks that you like to share with other people or express?
Sense my whole personality.
You notice neither of us are talking?
Yeah. No, there's no shame in sharing. I'm not going to force you, but there's no shame in sharing.
Okay, one of my unique little quirks is that, like, when I go to bed at night, and you know me, I have, that anxiety panic disorder.
Mhm.
And even if I'm not feeling anxious or anything, I always, like, I'll lay there and I'll, like, rub my feet together, rub my legs and my feet together. And it just, for some reason, it helps me relax and helps me to fall asleep. And I've been doing that ever since I was, like, really little. And I don't know why I do it. It's just, comforting.
Interesting. I wonder if it's
It's
like
weird.
I wonder if it's like the friction or the warmth or something when you do it.
I don't know. It's probably,
Yeah,
it's
that
just
is
my
pretty
little,
interesting.
yeah, it's just my little way of, relaxing and putting myself to sleep.
I know some people who will rock themselves to sleep or do things like that too. So
Hmm.
yeah, definitely not uncommon to have some sort of little relaxation quirk. Um,
Yeah.
Fun fact: there is something in yoga called the child fetal position, and it is supposedly like one of those positions that is supposed to really help lower your blood pressure and your heart rate, and really help you relax.
Uh-huh.
Do you want me to go or do you want to go, Jamie?
You can go ahead.
All right. I guess in terms of like one of my quirks, Um, hmm. This isn't really a personality quirk per se, but a lot of people do not like the rain, but I enjoy being out in the rain and getting showered by the rain, especially if it's like 70 degrees or hotter outside and you get a nice rainstorm. It feels so refreshing. And I personally, I mean, to suit your own, I guess some people are kind of like cats and don't like, being wet and have water on them. But I cannot understand how you don't like the refreshing feel of rain. There's something
I
really
like it too.
there's something really interesting about rain because a lot of people will say, "Well, why not just go into a shower?" It's not the same.
Hmm.
Rain it has much more of a refreshing feel to it than the shower does because it's like it came out of the clouds. It's fresh, whereas
It's natural.
yeah,
Yeah.
whereas your shower water, it's tainted with the chemicals from your water treatment plant. It's not. It doesn't have the natural, I guess, charge to it that rain does. It
Yeah.
also doesn't have the nice smell either.
Oh yeah, yeah. That rain smells wonderful.
It really does. And like especially when it's like kind of cool outside, so it's like not hot, but it's not freezing cold either. It just feels so nice. And okay, I guess this can count as my weird trait, but sometimes when the lawn break and the campus is kind of dead and kind of empty and it's raining outside, sometimes I'll take my shoes off and walk around campus in the rain and it just feels so good. It's so relaxing, it's so refreshing. Oh, just love it.
I wouldn't recommend
Hey,
do. Oh,
do you
sorry.
like
Go
to
ahead.
splash in the puddles?
Yes, like
Me too.
be like, I promise I'm an adult. Like,
Hey, well, look at me. I'm 54, almost 55 years old. I love to splash in the puddles like a little kid. My husband even laughs at me. I'll be out there, outside the house, splashing around. He'll be like, "Yep, that's my girl."
What would be really fun to see is like if you were to get a golden retriever or something, and then your dog splashes around with you. That would be fun.
Oh yeah, that'll be neat. Yeah.
Because from my understanding, I think some breeds of dogs really like to splash around too.
Hmm.
I know there's a lot of hiking trails around campus too. I wouldn't recommend doing this barefoot, but because of the spiders and things like that. But you could also, and I've done this before, you could hike through the trails during a rainstorm, and that is really nice because not only do you have the rain, but you have the peace and tranquility of being surrounded by the birds and the. Sometimes you might encounter a deer too, which is really cool.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're going to keep going here. Finding people who click with you can seem like a challenge, even if you lead a dynamic and interesting life or have a rich inner world. As I get older, I value deep connections more and more because I enjoy getting into a state of flow over effortless, meaningful conversations. I spend many frustrating years trying to figure out how exactly to meet the right kind of people, but it never occurred to me that they were looking for me too. And I hadn't made it easy for them to connect with me. When I met new people, I stuck with superficial conversations because, again, I didn't want to be perceived as weird and be rejected. When I formed a relationship, I tried to maintain it the same way I had earned it by not being who I truly am. Needless to say, those relationships were unfulfilling and short lived. Sharing who you are authentically in each present moment not only helps you connect to those similar to you, but it also filters the relationships that are incompatible from the get go. By bringing your inner world to light, you acknowledge your own uniqueness and allow others to fully see you, thereby making a connection with you. The more you let other people in, the deeper your connections will form. The levels of connection you could create with another person can be exhilarating, but also a little intimidating. Relationships can form from a fun loving surface level interaction into something that touches the most intimate parts of your souls, but you have to be willing to risk discomfort and rejection in order to find the right people. If you're tired of superficial relationships that bear little fulfillment and want deeper connections you can build on, then your only option is to be brave, open up about your inner world, and let other people in. How deep the connections are will depend on how vulnerable you allow yourself to become and whether or not others reciprocate. Not everyone will, and that's okay. It's worth opening up to people who will reject you to find the one who won't. Conversely, you need to be prepared to reciprocate just the same when someone else trusts you enough to share with you their inner world. While this may take some courage to build up to, it's also well worth the risk, if I can talk today. And that is the article from Liv W. And I don't know about you, but I really enjoy it when people open up to me, and because then it makes me feel like, that they trust me and that I can, you know, support them in any way that they want. It's just a really cool feeling, I think. Any final thoughts before we move on?
No, we're just unique.
Yeah.
Live your best life. Be you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break from the Right Morning Show for a couple of minutes. And when we come back, we're going to get into our Thoughtful Thursday segment. Today, we're going to be doing a mock debate on whether or not gun accessories should be regulated in Dayton. And this is especially considering the Oregon District shooting from a couple of years ago. So we will be back in just a couple of minutes on the Right Morning Show, WWSU 106.9 FM. And we're back to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM.
Pass it on.
This time of upheaval is causing me to look a little deeper inside myself, looking for some goodness. And this is what I've found. I'm more aware of my neighbor's well-being. I'm saying thanks to those who help keep my life as normal as possible. My mail carrier, my grocery cashier, my delivery person. I find myself caring about others instead of just looking out for myself. And oh, my goodness, does it feel good. Goodness is in you.
Pass it on.
From passiton.com.
Welcome back to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. In the studio with me now, also, we still got Jamie, but now we also have Shay Neal, the general manager of WWSU Radio. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really
Oh,
well.
that microphone is not working. Can I have you go to mic 4, please? Having a little bit of a short with that microphone as well. I was hoping it was working, but I guess not. All right.
Okay, so we good now?
I think so.
Okay.
We just got to adjust the YouTube
So now
camera
we got to
now.
adjust the whole setup, don't we?
Yep.
All
That's technology for you.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay,
Most
I
of the
think we're
time it
good.
doesn't.
Most of the time it doesn't. I don't know if you, well, those of you on YouTube probably cannot see it, but I think it was last week, we had a different light bulb in here for the microphone light. What ended up happening was I adjusted my monitor and accidentally knocked the light bulb over and broke it.
Yep. We've all had days like that, though. So I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate you. Just kind of going back to what I said, but I appreciate you having me on. I'm really doing good. For people that are taking summer classes at Wright State, this is the last week of A term, so I get to take an exam here in about an hour that I don't know how well I'll do on it, but once I'm done, I'm done. So there you go.
Nice.
It's a way to look at it.
All right, so our mock debate for today was inspired by Jamie, so I'm going to have her take it away for us, if that's all right with you, Jamie.
Yeah, so there was an interesting article in Dayton Daily News that I saw, and it was titled, "Should Gun Accessory Used in Dayton Mass Shooting Be Regulated?" Now, for some of those who may not be familiar, although I think most Daytoners are, back in 2019, there was a shooting at a bar in the Oregon district that affected a lot of people's lives. So gun debates have been very prominent in these past couple years, especially in Dayton. So continuing on with this article, the U.S. Department of Justice has proposed regulating pistols with stabilizing braces, like the one used during the Dayton mass shooting, to require background checks and registration for those who want to possess them. Continuing on, but gun rights organizations and a Republican lawmaker are pushing back with legislation they say protects law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights. Dudley Brown, president of National Association for Gun Rights, said in a statement that braces proposed would set a quote, dangerous precedent for anti-gun legislators to further regulate firearm accessories in the future, end quote. The proposed federal rule would clarify when accessories attached to pistols convert them into weapons regulated by the National Firearms Act, DOJ says in a news release. And I can continue on reading off quotes from this article if you guys would like, but I also wanted to mention also Wright State Guardian article that was published just this morning, and it was also talking about Ohio Governor Mike DeWine's urging of Ohio lawmakers late last week to pass legislation for gun reform involving police funding for body cameras and harsher punishment for repeat offenders. So there's just been a lot of debate and a lot of issues surrounding, in the Dayton Daily News article, gun accessories, how should we regulate that, and then, with Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. So, yeah, that's kind of the two articles that were going off here this morning.
Awesome.
Patrick, I'll let you go first.
So, well, I wanted to ask all of you how you wanted to do this. So, in past shows, when I've done debates on the show, I would do a format called Rapid Fire, because like formal debates when they do, like opening statements and then, rebuttals and things like that. I think that's too formal for radio, to be honest with you. So I do a song called Rapid Fire, which basically means 1 minute is put on the clock. Anybody could take that minute. When their time is up, somebody else jumps in for a minute, and we just keep going until we run out of time for the debate or we reach a conclusion or something like that.
Right.
So would you like to do it like that, or would you like to just do a free-form discussion?
I think that sounds good. I think that, I've done radio for about 3.5 years now, and I feel like anything that's, I don't want to say reasonably important, because 90% of the stuff I say on here isn't reasonably important, but I feel like 90% of the stuff I say on here I can fit into 60 seconds. So I think that's fine, because I think hearing from different perspectives will also kind of, trigger that secondary kind of thoughts on that. So,
and just to add on, you could take more than one 60-second period. You don't have to cram everything into 60 seconds. All right. So with that being said, and I hope this is the correct music, so we'll find out here.
Gotta love live radio.
Here we go. So who wants to take the first minute? Go ahead, Shay.
Okay. So is the music, I'm just curious, is the music that loud on the stream, or is it just in the studio?
It was the studio.
Okay.
I was hearing it through my headset. And I turned it down.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to hear me if it's that loud, but no. So I think that it's a really tough topic. I've talked briefly in the past on kind of my stance on regulations regarding gun rights and gun owners and stuff like that. I think the hard part becomes that we've seen, I don't want to stereotype every single mass shooting incident into one group, but more times than not, it's somebody that's struggling with mental health issues or social difficulties with social, interactions and stuff like that. And it's almost impossible to include that in a background check, because that falls along, HIPAA guidelines and guidelines that you can't share with a therapist or a counselor or a doctor or something like that. So I really think that's the side of it that I don't want to say needs to be addressed, but that it'd be valuable if that was addressed more. But the way it sits right now, it's almost impossible to address that because of the rules and regulations of you can't disclose that kind of information.
Yeah. And that was exactly 1 minute. So
wow, I'm a natural. Beginner's luck.
Life H. Chipmunk, Jamie, do either of you want to hop in for the next minute?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you brought up mental health issues, because going back to the WSU Guardian article by Kaylee Rains, the Dayton locals weigh in on Ohio gun reform, one of the sides that she highlighted in her article was mental health, and how some people also would agree that, mental health is important. So, I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. Kahoo? Kahoo?
It's all right.
So Kaylee, in her article, quoted a person named Kahoo. And this is the quote. Police funding might help prevent these shootings, but it will not put a stop to them. I believe that mental health programs need more funding and support in order to ensure that people with violent tendencies are unable to access these weapons. Most of these crimes involved guns that were legally purchased, even though the perpetrator showed a history of violence, end quote. So I just wanted to kind of point to that article and to that quote.
Yeah.
All right.
That quote's good. I think that, it kind of piggybacks off of what the point I was making, where, I think almost everyone would agree that we need to regulate getting or limiting the access of weapons to people with violent tendencies of violence. But the problem is you can't be sure about somebody's violence tendencies unless they have a criminal record, unless they have an assault charge or something like that. There's people all over the place that have thoughts of murder or thoughts of killing or thoughts of violent acts, and you can't pick somebody's thoughts, and you can't if they disclose it to a doctor or a therapist, you can't get that information legally. So that's
the HIPAA regulation.
That's kind of the dead end I think that we're at right now, is having access to that information could unlock so many more possibilities about keeping dangerous people off the streets with weapons like that. But as of right now, obviously, we can't be fully certain of who has violent tendencies because there's only so much information we can retain.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'll go ahead and take the next minute. In terms of gun regulations, I've always been on the fence about gun regulations because gun regulations, I think, are definitely needed in the country. There's been other countries who have put in gun regulations successfully, and they have worked very well. Of course, no gun regulation is perfect. There are always going to be ways for people to acquire guns or use guns in illegal ways, despite the regulations that are put in place. So one of the big things that one of the big factors of gun regulations is you got to do it right. You got to be able to build up the legal system in such a way that not only is it hard for people to bypass the gun regulations, but it people don't have the motivation to bypass the regulations either, and end up in these violent situations that we've been seeing around the country. So that's my minute. Lefty Chimuk, we haven't heard from you. Do you want to say anything on regards to gun regulations?
Well, I don't live in Dayton, first of all. So I really, I really can't have a opinion on that.
I mean, you used to live in Dayton, though. So, you can share your little bit of thoughts.
I used to live in Dayton, I'm all for, background checks, definitely. Because, I firmly believe that, people that really shouldn't have firearms shouldn't have them. And, they should be, arrested or prosecuted if they're caught, having them when they're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that. That's for the whole country, not just Ohio. That's just for the whole country. Even law-abiding citizens, such as, my husband and I still believe in background checks. Every time that we, purchase a firearm, we agree to background checks.
Mm-hmm.
We have nothing to hide. We got clean records, and, it makes me feel safer to know that people have had background checks. I don't want anybody, out there carrying a gun, because you don't know who they are. You don't know their intentions or anything.
Yeah. I got to cut you off because that was a minute, so I'm going to let somebody else hop in.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of good points made there. I think that, like it was mentioned, background checks, I think, are personally a good thing as well. I'm kind of in the same boat that as of, almost 22 years of life, I have nothing to hide criminally, nothing to hide, except for a speeding ticket. I will admit that. I do have a speeding ticket, but I don't think that's the end of the world. So,
oh, we have a phone caller calling in. The person who's on the phone line, please give us 30 seconds and I will be right with you. Continue, Shay.
Okay. But yeah, I think background checks are, obviously there's a way to get through almost any wall of security. In terms of anything, whether that's, at a sporting event, whether that's at a concert, whether that's, the White House Oval Office security. There's a way to get, if you have the right software, the right resources, there's a way to get through almost any sort of security. But I think that the consistency of background checks does make it definitely a lot more comforting for a lot of people. And I think the overwhelming majority have nothing to hide and have no issues with that because they have nothing to hide.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to take the next minute, Jamie?
Can I actually use that to ask a question of all of you?
Go ahead.
So what do you guys, because I know the Dayton Daily article was about, gun accessories and, accessories that make, even if you go through a background check, even if you do that, there are still accessories that can make guns more lethal. So I kind of just wanted to get your guys' opinions and thoughts on what do you think about accessories and like things that you don't necessarily have to get background check for, but that would, amp up the level more. Yeah, I think, okay.
Do you want to go first on this? I need a little time to think on this.
I was about to say the same thing. I'm like, Patrick, I need some time to process this.
Laughing Chipmunk, I heard you were trying to chime in. Did you want to say something?
I think it depends on the accessory, or what you mean by accessories.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of accessories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can quote the article that I'm looking at here. Again, this is going back to the Dayton Daily one. This is, quote, the National Firearms Act imposes heightened regulations on short-barreled rifles because they are easily concealable, can cause great damage, and are more likely to be used to commit crimes. But companies now sell accessories that make it easy for people to convert pistols into these more dangerous weapons without going through the statute's background check and registration requirements, the DOJ says in a press release. These requirements are important public safety measures because they regulate the transfer of these dangerous weapons and help ensure that they do not end up in wrong hands, the release said.
So it's basically...
Yeah, I'm against that. Yeah, I don't believe in, making something, that even more dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And then not having the background check, to to top it off. No, I think that accessories should be what's the word I'm trying to find here?
Probably regulated.
The regulated kind, the legal kind. I'm trying to explain it. Yeah.
I think I know where you're going, so I'll try and explain it for you, and you could tell me if I'm right or wrong, Laughing Chipmunk. I think what you're saying is, so say if you have a gun and you get an accessory kit to convert it into a quote-unquote different type of gun, it should be regulated as if it was that other gun now, now that you have the accessory attached to it. So like, for instance, if you convert something into an AK-47, it should now be regulated as an AK-47.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I think that's... I think that's kind of the more I think about it, kind of the opinion I share as well, because I think it was right off the bat, I thought the kind of the same thing that everyone else was thinking with situational, analysis. Like, I think it's different in different situations with different accessories. But in the terms of talking about, I don't want to say I have a lot of experience. I'm definitely not an expert in this, but my father actually just took a class on firearms and had to kind of deconstruct an AK-47. So I've kind of gotten to see a short-barreled rifle like that. But I definitely think if it's an accessory that takes it from a handgun to something that's more able to do more damage, able to cause more commotion and violence, I agree that it shouldn't be. If you add an accessory to make a pistol an AK-47, it should not be considered a pistol.
Yeah. Because
I agree.
Because like hypothetically, I don't know if this is true or not, but my line of thinking is that, if you convert a pistol to an AK-47, even though it's not, technically an AK-47, it would do as much damage as a real AK-47.
Exactly. It's not, and even if it's not considered an actual AK-47, it's going to do a lot more damage than a pistol would.
Yeah, true.
See, my question is, why take a gun? A gun can already, kill somebody or do damage, Why would you want to make it even worse?
The only two reasons that come to my head are if you're into, hunting or target practice or shooting
hunting.
range or something like that, or if you're collecting. If you're collecting and you want to have, customized weapons that you turned from a pistol to a, semi-automatic or whatever, I understand that. But just for the sole purpose of owning a gun, I'm with you. I don't think that there's a need. I mean, there's plenty of pistols that you can attain with the proper regulations and background checks that can do just plenty of damage for any person. So
Yeah.
I don't see the purpose of it in general society, but if you're hunting or if you're collecting, I could see the reasoning behind it.
Like, for instance, if you purchased a gun and realize it's not very effective in, your hunting tactics, I could see getting an accessory to make the gun more effective in, hunting. I'm not really a proponent of hunting, but I'm saying, like, for hunters who get game, like deer and bison and things like that. If their gun's not very effective, getting an accessory to make it more effective, that makes more sense.
Right.
But I still think it should be regulated as if it was that other gun.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it makes a lot of sense that a pistol wouldn't take down a bison without the bison would have time to get away before you could get enough shots off to knock it down. But I feel like most people have any sort of experience in hunting know that and get a rifle right off the bat. So even then, if you're customizing a handgun into a rifle and you're hunting, why not just get a rifle in the first place? Because you're hunting. You have a hunter's license. You can just get a rifle.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if it's
yeah.
just, like, if you've already purchased a gun, I wonder if it's just to save a little bit of money by just getting the accessory instead of getting a whole new gun.
It's possible, but that's going back again to situational kind of thing where there's so many accessories that are going to cost just as much or more than getting a new gun. So.
It's kind of like a computer. Sometimes it costs more to repair your computer than to get a new one.
Or like a car that you've been driving for 10 years. Sometimes getting that new part to fix the car is just not worth it. You should get a new car. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely. I think it's interesting. I think that, it should. I think the overwhelming kind of consensus that I think the majority of us have come to is that, it has to be tracked as. I think it should be tracked as not the gun that it was purchased as, but tracked as the gun that its damage could do. So if that makes sense. So like I said earlier, if it's a pistol, but you put accessories on it to make it shoot like a rifle. Track it as a rifle. It's not a pistol anymore.
Now, there's going to be a little bit of muddy water, I think, in doing so, because you need some way to identify, so if somebody attaches something to a gun and it ends up becoming, doing the same thing or similar things as another gun, you need some way to track, okay, these are the qualities of an AK-47. This gun is now matching those qualities, so we should now consider it an AK-47. We need some sort of, like, regulation or, like, some sort of measurement to determine when a gun is an AK-47.
Right.
You see what I mean?
There would have to be a system put in place where it says, if you have this base weapon, but with these accessories, this is what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a step that they'd have to take if they went that route. But it's like, okay, if you have a handgun, but if you put any two of these 5 accessories on it, it is now classified as a semi-automatic rifle or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie, do you have anything you wanted to add on with us?
Not at the moment. I'm just looking at articles on this topic, but not at the moment.
Out of curiosity, what does are there any quotes from the Dayton community on this topic?
From the Dayton community, that would be going back to Kaylee Rain's article in the Dayton Locals Weigh In on Ohio Gun Reform. She quoted quite a few people. Let me pull that up here real quick. So I know I mentioned that the other quote from before about mental health issues. There was also another side explored in this article, and she quoted a person named
Is it one of those names that are hard to pronounce?
No, I'm just trying to find the name. I don't think that it was an actual name. It was an organization.
Oh, okay.
So there was a quote here, and it is, no matter where you are or how many rules or regulations there are, a criminal will always not follow the rules and find a way to get the so-called weapons. Body cameras are good things and help in holding police accountable. So the Ohio Art Institute and Cincinnati alum Charity Cupp Okay, so that was a name, Charlie Cup. And that was, again, quoting within a quote of an article. Let's see. Other Dayton opinions from this article was from WSU alumni Kathleen Dang, and she said, quote, I think DeWine doesn't know shit about, I don't
Notion?
know. Okay.
I thought you just said notion.
No, it's the S one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was just reading.
You're safe now.
And I was just reading and forgot that I was on there. Sorry about that, folks. Because it's in the quote. So I think DeWine doesn't know blank about what communities that are heavily affected by gun violence need. Instead of funding social welfare programs and mental health programs, he's just throwing more money on police they don't need to solve. I think that this person is talking more about police in that quote, but the first part of the quote was more about guns. So yeah, those are some opinions that Kaylee covered from Dayton Locals in her article on Dayton Locals weigh-in on Ohio gun reform.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I could kind of see and my whole thing with regards to, people always find a way around it. I don't think that's an excuse not to do it personally, because it's not it's kind of like black or white thinking. It's either you prevent all of them from being able to do it, or you don't put the regulation in place at all. And I think, as I mentioned before, other countries have implemented gun reform laws that have been effective. They don't prevent everybody from doing it, but the statistics of gun violence have showed in those countries that gun violence has gone down in the country since they put those in place. And I think that's good enough to consider it. Because we want to save lives in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This is a little bit off topic of what we've been talking about the last couple of minutes, but it's just kind of what stuck with me when Jamie was going over those articles, and I think it's kind of a funny way to end my time on the show today. But
yeah,
I think it's funny that in 95, we all work in media, but 95% of articles or interviews or whatever, we find individuals that you can't pronounce their names. When was the last time you released an article or I released an interview where you just interviewed John Smith or Mary Barnes or something like that? It's always like even like a couple weeks ago, we got an advertising deal for a commercial, and it was the Nephrology Associates of Dayton. Why can't you just send me a Wendy's commercial? I'm 21 years old.
All right. On that note, we are over time. We have to end the show. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this edition of the Wright Morning Show. Thank you, Jamie, Shay, and Laughing Chipmunk for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
And thank you, those of you who are listening, for making us a part of your morning. I will not be here tomorrow. I am going to have Scotty hosting the Wright Morning Show tomorrow. So you'll get to enjoy Scotty for tomorrow's The Wright Morning Show. But we're here every weekday from 9 to 11 a.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM. Stay tuned. Have a great day. Oh, you okay?
Yes.
Okay.
It was my bottle.
And be sure to tune in to Testa and Neil Keep It Real today at, they're taking a week off, but they'll be back Monday from 1 to 3 p.m. every weekday.
Yeah, Parker and I got a little bit of burnout, so we're taking a week off, but we will be back on Monday.
All right, everybody have a great day.
You are listening to WWSU 106.9 FM, Fairborn, Dayton, Dayton's Right Choice.